evening and welcome. Welcome to the Inspiring Minds series at the C.T. Bauer College of Business. It's a pleasure to have with us today members of my board. Thank you all for coming. I'm really pleased to have Jack Moore and Debbie Moore, who are the sponsors of this event. Jack was here until a few minutes ago, so I want to thank them, acknowledge them. The Bauer College Alumni Association Board, you're all here. Thank you for being here. And really every one of you for sharing your Wednesday afternoon with us. So the Inspiring Minds series, if this is the first time you're coming to this, it's something we started in 2014. And the idea was to bring to the college leaders who I call trailblazers in every field, whether it is business or sports, music or medicine. These are individuals who are inspiring us by their genius, by their life stories, by what they do and how they do it. And the goal is that at the end of this session, you leave this auditorium, rather we leave this place, inspired, wealthier for the ideas, the knowledge, and the inspiration we have gained. And I could not think of a more appropriate person at this time, on this day, in this year, in the history of this great university, who is doing more to move the needle on that leadership dimension, who has inspired us clearly by his leadership and team building, who has energized not just you all and students and alumni, but really the city of Houston by winning a national championship, and more importantly, at least to me, most importantly, who is moving the needle on what I call the respect dimension. It's a campaign for respect. The respect that we deserve is coming our way. A respect that's going to translate into a seat at the table, whether it's the SEC or the Big 12. It's a seat at the table so that every Bauer student is invited at the highest levels in their organizations to participate at the highest levels. Every Cougar has a seat at that table. So ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming Coach Thomas Joseph Herman.
Hello. You got my middle name? Hello. Good. Is this working?
Yes, it is, it is.
I usually don't need a mic, Latha.
Okay, well, you're...
I can scream. No, I'm good.
Yeah, I can too. I have kids, so I can scream. But thank you for being here. You know, this is what we call lessons in leadership, right? And the coach is a strategic player in social media. He's just amazing in terms of the messaging he has out there and what he does. So we had our social media channels open for the last 2 weeks, and we invited your questions, your comments. And so this conversation really tries to assimilate what you have in mind. And the goal is that at the end of this, we will have some time for live questions from the audience. This is Lessons in Leadership, and we have several chapters in this lesson, so let's get started. So Coach, leadership, whether it is in business or sports, there are some skill sets that are common, right? You need to create a strategic plan. You need to have a culture that buys into that strategy, and you need a team that is inspired to act on that strategy. And clearly, you've shown us you can do all that. Talk to us about how you go about building your team. So let's start with recruiting the team, and you've done an amazing job. What is it that you look when you recruit players?
Well, the biggest thing, obviously, the tangible, you know, the height, weight, speed, athleticism, all of that, and then when you get into the intangibles, I think the biggest one that we look for is competitiveness. We want a young man that is going to beat his grandma in checkers every time they play and is going to be ticked off if he doesn't. And we want young men that want to compete, that want to win at everything that they do. And then the second thing, although it seems a bit, there's to be a bit of a dichotomy there, is we want guys that are great teammates. And so you say, well, how can you be a great teammate if you want to win at everything that you do? And I think those two things combined are the guys that are able to become leaders in the locker room and say, I want to be the best at what I do, but I need you to do it. And so I'm going to grab you and I'm going to drag you with me, whether you like it or not, because I know in life, really, you don't achieve success alone. Nobody has, nobody ever will. And so in order to be successful, in order to win at an elite level, one, you've got to have that competitive fire in you that drives you, and then you've got to be a great teammate, and you've got to be able to function for the greater good.
You say it so easily, sounds like it's an easy thing to do, but we know it's not. And a big part of that message, what you just said, is when the team appreciates each other, but a lot of that comes from you, right? So the issue is you have certain players who are out there, who are the stars, who are visible, who get the appreciation. And then there's everyone else that may not be that visible, right, from your managers or maybe the scout team, people that need to perform so that the team excels. And you do a great job making sure that everyone is appreciated and valued. Talk to us about that.
Well, I think one thing you got to remember is that we operate on what we call a meritocracy, and everything in our program you earn, whether it's a reward or a punishment. And so, but it has nothing to do with how many balls you caught if you're a receiver, how many tackles you made if you're a linebacker. It's your value to our organization. And then we put those guys up on pedestals, and we treat them like they should be treated. The guys that grind, that work so hard for the team and for the cause, those guys are rewarded on a daily basis. And guys that slip up here or there that don't, then they're chastised. They're cast away until they can figure out how to work within the team and unit structure. And I think what you have to realize, and we explain it, I think constant communication is key. And we explain it to our guys. Okay, so we're human beings. So what do human beings want? We want what's quick, what's easy, what's self-serving, what's pain-free, and what's convenient, right? We're all made that way, right? I know I am, so I fight that every day. We all fight human nature every day. And so what are we trying to teach guys? We're trying to teach guys to do things that are painful, that are inconvenient, that are self-sacrificing, and that, benefit others and not yourself. And so we're actually really trying to turn human nature on its head. Mm-hmm. And so how do you do that? One, well, you got to define it for everybody involved. We have these very open, honest conversations within our team that this is how it's going to be. This is what we're trying to get. We're trying to become non-human. It's not human to want those things and be happy with those things. But in order to achieve what for us is success, a championship and or a New Year's Six bowl game, that's the only way. The recipe for success, we talk about all the time, the price of a championship has been set by the football gods, and it's the same for us as it is for Alabama, as it is for Vince Lombardi when he coached, in the 50s and 60s. And, are you willing to pay that price? Because whatever you're willing to pay and sacrifice is what you're going to achieve. It's a zero-sum game. You can't put in this and expect this, And so we have very, very honest, educational conversations with our team about what it is we're trying to do.
So on that note, You experienced some of that pain, and you had to persist, and you had to think about these things as part of your career too, right? So a story I read, and correct me if I'm wrong, so the story goes that you wanted to be a Division I GA, and you said you did not know anybody. You were, as you said, and I quote, a Division III kid whose dad wasn't a coach.
Right.
And in a business where the hands you shake are more important than the grades you make, and you had great grades, you overcame all that through persistence. And the story goes that you sent all the Division I NCAA university head coaches a shoe with a handwritten note, and you kept doing that, and look where you are.
The shoe was, and I said, I'm just trying to get my foot in the door.
Foot in the door,
Yeah.
exactly.
I did do that.
So, so how did you get your foot in the door? How many shoes did you have to mail out?
A lot. Thank God for Goodwill. I was telling the fireside chat students, I had a structure. I would call, there's 128 Division I schools, and I would call the coach's office at least once every 2 weeks, and I had a detailed plan on Monday. So, I'm calling 64 schools in a week, divided by 7. I don't remember how many a day that is, but I didn't deviate from that, and so we kind of got to know the secretaries over the phone. Of course, I never got through to Bobby Bowden or Mac Brown or any, they're not going to put me through. So I've started to get to know these secretaries, and I mailed the secretaries packs of gum, I said, hey, next time you're chewing this gum, maybe you'll put my message to Coach Bowden on the top instead of, on the bottom, or whatever the case may be. And I think really, at the end of the day, that part wasn't, none of it came to fruition, none of those tactics. What did was, when I was coaching at Texas Lutheran in Seguin, Austin is 45 minutes away, and I said, what I'm going to do is, the minute I got to Texas Lutheran, that was my very first job. I was 23 years old, coming from Southern California. I didn't know anybody in Texas, had never been to the state even, which is a bit scary when you're driving that stretch on I-10 between like El Paso and the hill country. You're thinking dudes and horses are going to be riding up next to you, and you're like, oh my gosh, this is Texas. But so I made a point, and I said, okay, if I'm going to be in Seguin, and University of Texas is 45 minutes away, every spare minute of my time I'm going to spend up there, and I'm going to be a pest. And I called their graduate assistant, and I'm sure he was tired of getting Mac Brown's coffee and dry cleaning and washing his car and all that stuff as good GAs do. And I said, hey, I want to come up for a day and shadow you. I literally cold called him, and I got through to him. And I think the guy was kind of half flattered that somebody would want to be like him, the grunt that he was. And so I went up there a day, and then I started meeting the full-time coaches and meeting people, and kind of right place, right time, and they had a graduate assistant job open then that next January, so I'd been in the state about 10, 11 months, and had the opportunity to beg and plead for the job, and was able to get into grad school on my own. That was a big sticking point for them, was they couldn't help graduate assistants get into grad school, and I had already been accepted into UT grad school, and right place, right time.
So persistence, but there were a lot of other things that you did that mattered, and I have quotes from you all over this. So
yeah, you did your homework.
Yeah. Thanks to the team here. So, which is part of what I want to ask you is, how do you stay prepared? But before we go on to that, so you've had a great career in terms of starting with the Goodwill shoes, and look where you are today, right? All these teams that you coached, the awards that you won, the championships, OSU, now here, Peach Bowl. But what really struck me was your attitude towards your success. And again, I quote, you say, the little things that matter. To be successful when you have limited resources, you go on to say, you can't throw up your hands in the air and say, it can't be done. No is not acceptable. I can't is not an answer. And when you start from humble beginnings like that, it really teaches you the value of finding ways to get things done. That's what this place is all about, finding ways to get things done. We don't have a playbook here, and we are writing this playbook as we speak. Talk to us about how you share that value with your team.
I think you have to, you're right, this is, and I'm proud of my humble beginnings. I'm proud to say I didn't make over $40,000 a year until I was 32 years old, and spent 6 years coaching 1AA football, and did a 3-year sentence in Ames, Iowa. Anybody been to Ames, Iowa? Yeah, it's awful. It's Siberia. But I think I've always been, because I've been such a positive guy, that it just shocked me kind of when you look at administrations and people that have been in the same job for a long time, how negative they can be, and they don't try to think outside the box. And I'll never forget, I never read the book, but when I was at Rice, the athletic director there, his name is Chris Del Conte. He's now the athletic director at TCU. But I remember going into his office one day, and he had a book, and the book said, the title of the book was Start with the Premise of Yes. And I probably should have read the book. I didn't read it, but I kind of gathered what the idea of it was, and it matched my ideals, which is, don't tell me no, tell me, well, let's find a way. Don't tell me, well, we've always done it this way. Tell me, hey, we've never done that. Let's see if we can get it done. And you start with yes first. And I think this, full disclosure, this place had fallen on the rut of human nature of just saying, you know what, because it's so much easier to tell Coach Herman no, or to tell Coach Herman, well, we've always done it that way, or we've never done that before. That's easy. That causes me, guess what? I don't have to work when I tell him no. Well, that's not how I operate. And so, and it's not to sound spoiled or arrogant, just don't tell me no. Let's roll up our sleeves together and let's find a way. And so I think you as a leader, you asked how you kind of disseminate that attitude, and I think you have to model it. And so, I famously ripped up a floor, in our building.
I was going to ask you about that.
Well, we can get to that, sure. I got in trouble for that one. But I think you have to model what you're asking of other people so that they, if the boss is doing it, why can't I do it? And so that was really, really important for me, was to roll my sleeves up and model it. And then, obviously, you hope that the results bear testimony to the way that you're doing things, or else you're just the a-hole that can't get told no. Yeah. Now I'm the guy that can't get told no that's got a Peach Bowl championship, so.
No, that's Unfortunately, I totally understand what you're saying. I wish I didn't, but I do.
Yes.
So the story of getting the floors professionally cleaned every week, we don't know how he did it, but he saw that it wasn't getting done, and then it got done. Don't ask us how. So would you agree that forgiveness is better, asking forgiveness is better than asking permission? Just say yes.
Hang on. You and me are lost kindred spirits, I believe, because I subscribed to that theory when I was growing up with my mom. And other than NCAA compliance, it is always, in my opinion, go do the damn thing, and we'll figure it out later. And that's kind of what our program, we're going to go do it. And I tell our operations people in the administration, well, how are we going to pay for it? And I look at them and I say, charge it to winning, And so find that line item on the damn budget, the one that says Peach Bowl champs 13-1, and charge it to that account. We'll be just fine.
So we now have the playbook. So this is great, absolutely great. I can take this to my bosses and say, this is what we're doing. So
yes.
Charge it to winning.
Charge it to winning.
Yeah, I love that. Focus. So when you were at OSU and you got recruited by UH, you still had a few games left in that season. And you actually went on to be part of the team that won the championship. You stayed focused on that despite red being all over here. How did you keep your focus while you were doing that? And more importantly, when you have a team of 18 to 20-somethings, sometimes it's hard, right? Not all of us have the ideal height or the ideal weight or the right talent, and you need to focus on the things you can change and control and not worry about the things you can't control. But that's hard to do when you're an 18-year-old. How do you get your team to focus?
Well, the first example, I think, was made a lot easier by the people that I had surrounding me. I had great bosses at Ohio State in Urban Meyer and Gene Smith, the athletic director. I had great boss here in Mac Rhodes. And then I hired a few coaches in that kind of transition period that got here right away, kind of the foot soldiers, got their feet on the ground. And, and you got to be really, really efficient with your time. I would wake up at 6 a.m., I would get to the office, or I'd wake up at 5, I'd get to the office at 6. I would literally go into my office there in Columbus. I would put on a University of Houston hat, and I would sit there and kind of plan my day out. What did I need to do? Who did I need to talk to? What needed to get done in recruiting? What needed to get done here? I had a staff to hire, all that stuff. And I'd do that for an hour. I would take the hat off, I'd put it down, I'd go in to our staff meeting for Ohio State, and then spend the day until lunch kind of preparing for practice, preparing the game plan for Alabama. And then at lunch, I would kind of come back. I would check with the guys that were here. I would get some stuff knocked out on my list. Then I would go back after lunch, and usually we had a practice, and then we'd practice, and then come back in, and we'd watch the video of practice, get done right around 10 o'clock at night, and then good thing they're on East Time. We're on Central Time in Texas, so from 10 to 11, I put my U of H hat back on, sat in my office, and I called recruits for an hour, and then 11:15, 11:30, I drove home and woke up at 5 and did it all over again. It was the longest month of my life.
Wow.
But you got to have two things. One, you got to be very efficient with your time, and you got to have a wife that really loves you, because although she doesn't see me very much because of the nature of my profession, that month I was even when I was there, I was a zombie. And then how do you get your kids to focus? I think you're right. I sometimes look up and say, whether I can put food on my children's plate every night depends on the actions of 18 to 22-year-old young men. Is that not the stupidest thing you've ever heard of in your life? And so it gets a bit nerve-wracking, but you have to teach them, and I think it kind of goes along what we talked about human nature. Human nature is to not focus, especially at that age, and so you have to teach them that your mind is an ultimately powerful thing. I show them at the beginning of every year. One of my favorite or most impactful photos is of the Buddhist monk in Vietnam that during the Vietnam War set himself on fire right in the middle of a town square. And the quote underneath the picture of this guy literally sitting there as his body is burning. It's a bit grotesque, I know, but it says, his body stayed motionless in stark contrast to the wailing crowds around him. And they did an autopsy on the guy. There was no drugs, no foreign substances in his body. And I really thought to myself, okay, so here's this guy, a human being, that can pour gasoline on himself, light the match, and sit there motionless as he burns to death. And I thought to myself, the mind is a pretty powerful thing. A pretty powerful thing. And so we talk to our guys all the time about being mindful, about using your brain to control everything that you do, and you got to have self-talk, and you've got to constantly remind yourself of the situation, and to be aware, hey, I'm losing focus here. I got to bring it back in, or I've got to, I've got to make a decision. It's really hot and really humid, and I'm really tired, and my body hurts, but I've got to make a decision to go really hard on this play, because my mind ultimately controls my body, and it controls every decision that I make.
Nice, nice.
I'm not condoning burning yourself, by the way. It's merely an example.
You know, you spoke about your wife, and I didn't want to bring it up, but she has an MBA in finance.
Yep.
So not that we're biased or anything.
Well, I know,
so.
yeah. She's the numbers cruncher. She's all stressed out about our taxes right now. But I quite literally, she gives me an allowance once a month, and I joke if she stepped off a curb and got hit by a bus, I wouldn't know how to pay the light bill. And I'm good that way. I like it that way. She's good with numbers. I'm good at this stuff. So.
That's what leadership is all about, recognizing.
Recognizing my weaknesses, yeah.
So
I actually, funny story. One of my claims to fame is I have a BS in business, I have a BA in communications, I have a master's in sport management, and I didn't take a math class beyond 11th grade Algebra 2.
Wow. But you're a Mensa person.
I am. I hate math. I'm not doing it. I talked my way into, well, can't this substitute for that and this? Now, I took my fair share of econ and stats and all that, but not calculus or trigonometry or pre-calc. Heck no.
That's amazing, because I was reading your CV, and like you said, a bachelor's in education, master's, and then you have the Mensa thing. It seems like you read a lot of books, and I heard that you're into documentaries. I hate to say this, but you sound like a geek.
I am a geek.
So
I told the Fireside Chat group too. I actually I was a kick-ass trombonist too in high school too. I'm actually a band geek too. So.
No, but it seems to have helped, right?
I think so. I think I was involved in, for the students in here, man, get involved in anything and everything you can do. There's plenty of time to relax. I'll relax when I retire. I want to go be involved, be in student government, be in organizations, be present, be alive in your life. It's too easy at 18 to 22, or 18 to whenever, to just go to class, go home, play video games, sit on my smartphone, and go to sleep and wake up and do it again. What? You're young. Enjoy your youth.
Do you share that with your kids?
All the time. Yeah.
Nice, nice. Do you find it easier to train your team than to train kids?
My children at home?
Yeah.
100%. They don't, because they're way braver than my players. My players don't talk back to me. I don't know why. My kids do. And they get punished, but it doesn't stop them.
No, I wish I didn't agree, but I completely agree with you. Switching to something a little more serious, values, right? It was Paul Dietzel at LSU, a coach, I guess, who may not be known to many of you here, who said you can learn more character on the 2-yard line than anywhere else in life, right?
Yes,
and
I believe that.
And as a coach, talking about kids, you're probably more influential in the lives of these athletes than certainly our faculty or even their parents, right?
Yes.
So how do you teach, talk to them about values, about priorities, and not just winning the game, but doing it right?
Well, we have core values. I think you have to talk to your team about the difference between a core value violation and a mistake. Our core values are honesty, which usually kind of solves all of them. So that's number one. And then treat women with respect, no drugs, no stealing, and no weapons. And then so beyond that, so if you screw up there, if you put your hands on a woman, I'm not equipped as a football coach to help to rehabilitate you. You got to go. You got to go get help, and I'll help you. I won't throw you away. We'll go get you the help you need. But if you smoke marijuana, and I'm not a drug counselor. I don't know how to do those things. I'm not equipped to teach you how to get off drugs. We'll go figure out a way to do it, but you're not going to be a part of our team while you do it. So if you violate one of those core values, chances are you're probably going to get kicked off the team. Now, a mistake, you got too many parking tickets. I got it. Guess what? You're going to get up at 5 a.m., you're going to run, you're going to, you're going to pay some kind of punishment. And mistakes, you missed a class, you slept in, they happen. They're 18, they're 18 to 22-year-old males, their brains aren't fully developed, But you teach them. I think there has to be a balance of when you're dealing with mistakes, a balance of punitive measures and education. Mm-hmm. So I can run a guy all I want for missing class, but if I don't then educate him on the value of going to class, then what am I? I'm a glorified, drill instructor or whatever. No, I'm a coach, and I grew up an only child of a single mom, and coaches were my dads. Kind of growing up, and my teammates were my brothers. I didn't have any brothers and sisters, and so I take that part of my job more seriously than the wins and losses. I want, when you leave our program, you better leave our program a better husband, a better father, a better employee, a better citizen of this great city and this great state, or I've failed, and the assistant coaches have failed, because we're going to win. We're going to win. We're going to recruit really good players. We got great coaches and we got a great culture, and we're going to win. So then, ultimately, what is my job? My job is to build these better men through the game of football and through the team environment.
Mm-hmm. Would you say that was your upbringing, your mother, that you're thinking along these lines? What was it like growing up, and talk to us a little bit about that.
Well, I think just the influence that coaches had, that I'm sure if you talk to a psychologist and ask them, why is Tom Herman a coach, they would say, well, because all the positive male role models in his life were his coaches. So I think that's probably the biggest thing, was that I fell in love with this game. I fell in love with the locker room. I fell in love with my coaches and my teammates. And I joked to the group beforehand, too. I mean, I played Division III football, non-scholarship, private school. I was so bad at football that I had to pay a university $34,000 a year to play college football. So, I mean, that's how bad I was. But I fell in love with it. I wasn't going to not play college football. Obviously, college football is the last stop for guys that are as unathletic as me. And so the next closest thing was to get into coaching.
We'll take that as it is. When Coach Meyer hired you in 2012, he said this about you, and I quote, "I wanted to have a guy that's not going to have an ego, has a good understanding of our offense, and be extremely intelligent to learn what we do and adapt it to what he does." As a leader, the most important thing is the respect of your team, right? You don't want to turn around and see there's no one following you. Talk to us about how you earn the respect of the 18-year-olds that you coach.
I think there's a few things. One, mastery. I think you have to show them that you're really good at what you do, and that by you being good at what you do, you can help them be better at what they do. I think that's important, and I think you've got to show them that they care. There's an adage in coaching, and I hope the adage is the same in business, that they don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. And you got to show them that you care. You got to show them that what you're telling them and asking them to do is going to ultimately lead them to what they want, which is to be a better player and to win games. And so I think mastery and caring about them. And then, but at the end of the day, on our team we spell love Time. You don't tell me you love me. Don't tell me you care about me. Don't tell me you're really good at what you do. Show me. Spend time with me. And so I think that's probably the biggest way to earn somebody's trust is to go above and beyond what is common in whatever walk of life you're in terms of the amount of time that you spend with the people that you're charged with leading.
So a big part of this is the ability to deal with a situation that you didn't anticipate, a crisis, right? And we know that it's those moments when we get thrown those curveballs that if we can do something about it, and those are when you have those growth spurts. At the same time, it's hard if you don't have a safety net to hold you when those things happen. As someone said, you are a good leader when you let your players fail, but you don't let them become failures, right? So how do you keep that safety net at the same time telling them they need to excel, but it's still okay? It's a fine balance, I'm sure.
It's really hard because we make such a big deal about competing,
right,
about winning, and I as well we should, because in life they keep score, and you're going to be competing every day of the week, whether it's for the promotion, whether it's for a raise, whether it's for a better job, a better whatever, or even just you're competing against your own best self every day to get better at whatever it is that you want to do. And so you have to balance that. I said, when you're winning, when things are going good, you have to lead with a heavy hand. Because again, what are we battling? We're battling human nature. Human nature when things are going good is that, yeah, things are really good, right? And, tell me again how good I was. We want those things. We want to be complacent. And so when things are going good, you got to beat the heck out of them, figuratively. And when things are going poorly, that's when the human side of you has to take hold that, hey, we're trained, we're good, we have a saying on our team, trust your training. Trust your training. When things are going bad, and there's always adversity throughout any game or any season, just trust your training. You're the best trained team in America. Go back to what you're trained to do. Don't press, don't do anything out of the ordinary. Just do what you're trained to do over and over again, and eventually we're going to overcome this hurdle, whatever that hurdle might be.
So this year you've had an amazing success after success, and the team has seen that. They really haven't seen failure. So based on what you said, you're beating the heck out of them right now, right?
Absolutely.
No, so and that's a good thing. Does it worry you that, given that they've never seen that, it might be a problem going into the next season? In other words, you want them to see failure and success and prepare. So.
Yeah, honestly, I do think the losing to UConn was it was really good for us because we went, the 3 games we played after that were all top 25 teams. They all were for something on the line. Navy game was to win the West and go to the championship game. The championship game was obviously to win the championship and go to a New Year's Six game, and then the Peach Bowl to win the Peach Bowl championship. And so I think failure at times is a good thing because I'm never going to choreograph it, that I can tell you, but I think we forgot at that point. It's funny that you bring it up that way. I think we had gone on that great run to start the season, and then we're 9-0, and then we're down by 20 points to Memphis in the fourth quarter, and no team had ever done what we did. We did it with our backup quarterback, and I think we forgot what it's like to lose and how freaking awful it is, and that it is miserable. It is, and we got back in that locker room in Connecticut, and there were grown men crying. And they weren't crying because we couldn't go undefeated anymore. They were crying, I think, because the magnitude of failure hit them so hard because they hadn't failed in such a long time that I think they forgot how awful it was. And it was a nice, big slap in the face to motivate us for that next stretch to where, hey boys, we don't ever want to feel this again. And so I think right now we're in the mode of, at least we have that reference point, that loss in Storrs, Connecticut, to kind of draw on to remind our guys, hey, if we don't pick our stuff up, we're going to feel that way that we felt that night, and that was an awful, awful feeling.
Strategy is as important to what you do as it is in business. And it's, the way we think about it is, what is your competitive advantage and how can you be intentional about it? To quote you, I mean, clearly you're a master of that, and what you say here makes a lot of sense to me. Every call we make has answers built in. Some are better than others, but they've got answers. We never go into a game, draw a play, or run any play that we're crossing our fingers about, hoping the defense doesn't make this other call. And then you go on to say, Monday is a time to say, okay, who are they? What is their personality? What do they believe in? Big blitz team, cover 4, man-to-man, and then you dial in, you work with your players so that if the defense is in a particular formation, you have plays like X, Y, and Z, but if they do something else, will the strategy still work, or is something else better? So you clearly...
It seems so complex.
I know, exactly.
Yeah.
So that is my question. How do you take all that, strategic thinking about each play, and really it's about scenario planning the way I think about it. You're thinking about different scenarios and then plugging each in as it happens. But how do you anticipate that, and how do you get your players to think about that and think about it as it's happening on the field?
Let me start off by saying, and it's certainly not to make light of your question because I think it's an important one, but we firmly believe that culture eats strategy for lunch every day of the week, and that there's a million teams out there that run a spread offense, or a 3-4 defense, or they run inside zone, or they got a dual threat quarterback. It doesn't matter. There's millions of teams that do that. It's how we do it that sets us apart, and really not what we do. Now, to get to your strategy point, I do think there is an exhaustive amount of time spent, and that's why you hear of these crazy hours as coaches that we keep, especially during the season, because you're in a mode where you're preparing for disaster. You can't let that one thing, your position or your unit or your team, for that one play that may decide the game, good or bad, that your guys weren't prepared for it. And so, like you said, you're in your scenario mode, and I think the one thing that helps is repetition. And there's a lot of teams, both offensively and defensively, that they want to run all these different plays and all these fun little things, and they become a jack of all trades and a master of none. And we may be boring, we may be whatever, but we're going to have mastered these, whatever, I'm an offensive guy, these 10 offensive plays, and we're going to have run them. Our kids have been put in a position to run them and see them versus every defense and every blitz, front, coverage, you name it. They'll have seen it 100 times before they ever see it on game day. And so I think that's where we're a bit unique in our strategy, is that we try to do a very small amount, but we try to do it better than everybody else. And I think that's really, at the end of the day, I can't remember who said it, Walt Disney or somebody.
Or just say Walt Disney.
Oh, sure, yeah. He's dead, he doesn't mind, right? I'm sure the Disney family might. But the saying goes, to be successful, you've either got to do something different than everybody else, or do what everybody else is doing, but just do it better. And we'd like to think that there's no different in football. Different doesn't exist. There's no better mousetrap. Our mousetraps are really, really well coached, and they love each other a lot. and that's what motivates them.
Nice. So this next question is really about what can we do? And I'm going to say this in the following way, in that I really believe what you're doing, as I said in the beginning, is moving that needle on respect, right? We are tier 1, we are several things. We can check off the box, but none of that matters until we get the respect we deserve, which could be, an SEC invitation, Big 12. For us at Bauer College, it is, getting invited to sit at the table where the big boys make decisions.
Last I checked, our entrepreneurship program was number 1 in the country.
It is, yes.
So I would say the country knows who we are, but you can keep fighting.
Yes,
That's good.
no, but there's several things we can do better. When you have these wins, what I see happening is, students, by the time they're in high school, it's too late. We need to get them while they're in elementary school or even middle school,
Absolutely.
right? So the child at, say, Pearland Elementary or Mark Twain Elementary, when they see what's happening with what you're doing, there goes the UH pennant on their bedroom wall. Or better still, the UT pennant goes down and the UH pennant goes up. And we are
That's way better, too.
Absolutely, absolutely. I mean, that's how it's going to be, if any of you had any doubts. But the question I have is...
Can I interrupt you real quick? Can we have a contest between you and Simon Bott to see who has more school spirit for the University of Pennsylvania?
Hey, you're talking to this little Indian woman here. So.
No, I know.
No, but seriously, what can we do? We love what you're doing, and we want to see more of that happen, because I really see things changing on that respect dimension dramatically, thanks to what you're doing. The talk we had upstairs with a group of students, we had a fireside chat. We had a line of students who wanted to get into that room, and we had to actually have a competitive bid, and we charged it to winning. But,
VIP only.
Yes,
yeah.
But what can we do as a business school to make sure that this continues to happen? Now, the coach apparently likes beef jerky, and that's the reason.
Yeah. You're trying to butter me up.
Right.
Yep.
Well, you might say, eat more beef jerky, and I'm a vegan, I can't do that. But what can we do to make sure that we support everything you're doing? I just want you to tell us how we can all be in this together.
One is to be present. I think, we made a very strong push when we first got here to appeal to the students, the student body, and we fashion ourselves a little bit different. We believe in our heart of hearts that we are an extension, a representation of the student body. That's the only reason we exist. Mm-hmm. And maybe that sounds old school or whatever, I don't know, but we are there for the representation and entertainment of our student body, period. That's why college athletics exists in its purest form. And we take that very seriously. And we very literally, we have a sign that we hit before we walk out on the field every game, and it says, where there is unity, there is victory, we play for you. Mm. And it has the names of every student of every class that I went and spoke at last year. We got the class roster, and now it's a couple thousand students on a little sign like that. So the print is really small, but their names are there, and it's more symbolic than anything that our guys understand when they take the field that we're playing for the student body of the University of Houston, and but at the same time, then, in my opinion, these guys that work, countless hours that have sacrificed really a normal life, a normal college experience to play this great game, and literally you hear about blood, sweat, and tears. Well, our guys literally bleed. They certainly sweat, and they cry all the time. Sometimes for joy, tears of joy. Sometimes.
Well, that's because you beat the heck out of them. I love that.
I know, yeah. And so to me, the least the student body could do, the last time I checked, there's 365 days in a year, is you could give 6 of those back to this team, to be at those 6 home games, to be there and be loud. I think if we didn't have the student section that we had, and it wasn't as raucous and as enthusiastic and positive, we don't win that Memphis game. So I directly attribute that win to our students because they're down 20 in the fourth quarter, and you look up and the student section is empty, you're probably like, hey, this thing's over. But when your students are still in it and their shirts are off and they're painted up and they're, I mean, the whole nine, and ours were, and it's like, God, we got to do this for them. We're not stopping. We're not quitting. And so I think the biggest thing is to be present. The next thing, I think, is to spread the word, spread the gospel according to U of H. And, I think we finally, if we're not there, we're really close to being the hometown college football team of this great city. And where maybe before it was, that little old team in Conference USA over there, that commuter school, Cougar High over there, surrounded by a bunch of Longhorns and Aggies. I think we've turned a corner. I think Renew and people like you have done an unbelievable job of transforming and elevating our academic status amongst our peers. And then we've got to continue to do our job to get all those Aggies and Longhorns out of our city. I'm on a mission to eradicate the city of Houston of anything but red. So I feel like we're getting there, but for what you can do, the final thing I'd say is just spread the word, bring people, bring your neighbors, bring your friends, bring that black sheep cousin you have in the family that happened to go to A&M, bring him to the damn game and show him a great time.
So can we all commit to that here? Okay?
Yes.
Every one of us, yes. So, three things. Yes, three things.
Three things.
One is we all go to the games, every game, okay? 2, we connect with at least 6 others outside of this place, outside of this room that have not been to a game, and we pull them into the game, okay? Yes?
Yes.
And 3, most importantly, we eradicate the Aggies and the Longhorns. Seriously,
Number 3 might be a little
no, but actually we want them because we want to compete and win against them. So on a lighter note, beef jerky, I'm told you like all kinds of different flavors.
I do.
But
I don't know if they have tofu jerky. Do they have tofu jerky?
They do. They have something called tofu ki. I'm not making it up, I'm serious. But going back to your beef jerky, what do you prefer, wasabi or sea salt?
Sea salt.
Okay.
We're getting into like the game show part of this
Yeah.
now, aren't we? Okay, I better be on my guard here.
No, this is very mild. So I thought it's a Mensa question, but maybe not. So you post a lot of GIFs, and I say that for a reason. Is it GIF or GIF?
Okay. It's funny you ask. We've had this debate for quite some time in our staff room.
So I hear.
Did you? I'm very passionate about this topic, to be honest with you. Because when that format first came out, I was calling it GIF, like GI everywhere else in the English language. Giraffe, giant, okay, you name it. GI is a soft G. And then a bunch of computer people told me, no, you're wrong, it's GIF. So it took me forever to convert. I finally started calling it GIF naturally. And then like 3 weeks ago, the dang inventor of the format says, no, it's GIF. And so I'm like, can we make up our mind? So right now I'm on a GIF kick.
GIF, okay.
I'm a soft G right now.
Okay.
But I could probably be converted back to the hard G pretty easily.
No, we're converts of whatever you decide, so we'll
GIF.
keep it at GIF. Okay.
There you go. Because the inventor said it was.
Okay.
Yeah.
2016 was Peach Bowl. I call it the Grill Bowl. What is 2017 going to look like? I mean, grill-wise.
I got to get another grill? No, I'm not getting another grill.
Is there something else? But is there something else that...
No tattoos, no earrings. No, I'm good.
Okay, let's see.
I don't normally blush. I can't. No, I'm not doing it.
Okay, so let's see, what else? This is questions that came to us specifically on social media channels. What qualities from others most inspired you, and if you could choose, what qualities do you exhibit that you want to most inspire others? And maybe you've covered some of this, but...
Competitiveness.
Okay.
Strong work. I like hard-working people. I like people that work and work and work and work, and when they're done working, they find something else to work on. And
Nice.
those are the people I like to be around.
What is your zodiac sign?
I'm a Gemini.
Oh.
June 2nd, 1975.
You can't make up your mind then.
They say I have
Twins, right?
a dual personality. Yeah.
So
You're seeing the good one right now.
So beat the heck out of them and win.
Correct.
Okay, good. I like that. What's one thing that has surprised you that you didn't expect about the UH coaching job?
That I didn't expect. Hang on. I want to give a very thoughtful answer here. I didn't know. I knew we were going to try. I didn't know if we could really re-energize the city in such a short period of time that we did. So that was very pleasantly surprising to see, to ride in the rodeo, and everywhere you go, people are just screaming, "Go Cougs, go Cougs!" I mean, it was very gratifying and very surprising just in how quickly we were able to do that, which obviously tells me that the city was hungry. And then I didn't realize I'd get to meet as many famous people as I've met, probably. I mean, I'm like, I could call J.J. Watt right now. I mean, that's like really cool. I have Slim Thug's cell phone number. How cool is that, right?
Well, I hate to say this, and I hate to throw water on this, but I don't know any of these people.
That's okay.
To me, it's you. You're our J.J. Watt and whoever else, Slug Thug.
Slim Thug.
Yes.
Yeah.
But seriously, what you have done, right? Why are all these fans coming up? I mean, it's amazing what you're doing. So you are right there, center stage. You read a lot of books. What are you reading right now, and what do you recommend we all go home and read or buy and download?
Oh. I'm a big nonfiction guy.
Perfect.
I don't like reading fiction. That's what
That's
God
fine.
invented televisions for. I'm reading Coach Meyer's book right now, the one he wrote. I don't even know the name of it. Above the Line, kind of documenting our time there up through the national championship, probably for selfish reasons. I'm trying to think one of the more impactful books. I'll tell you one that bothers me that I refuse to read that my mom read. And I remember seeing it, in our house. The book, y'all seen the book, Don't Sweat the Small Stuff?
Yeah.
And it's all small stuff. I say
Sweat
BS on that. Sweat every small stuff.
Yeah.
I tell guys all the time, like, well, you're making a mountain out of a molehill. You're damn right I am. Because if we let enough molehills grow around us, guess what? We're going to have a mountain full of molehills.
Excellent.
So I sweat the small stuff, I can tell you that.
Nice.
But another book that...
Would you write?
You know what book I like? I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
This is fun. The book, Steve Jobs' book. I don't know if it was just called Steve Jobs or whatever,
Steve
but
Jobs.
I read that book and it was very inspiring.
Yeah. Would you consider writing a book?
Oh, I don't like math and I don't like writing. So, but I think the way I understand, you don't really have to write those things yourself, right?
You just have to talk like you're doing today.
Then yes.
And you just
certainly.
have to say things like, Charge it to winning. Beat
Charge
the
it
heck
to
out of
winning,
them.
no doubt.
Yes,
Yes.
yes. There's a book right there. No, seriously though. Documentaries. What are you watching and what are you asking your team to watch?
Ooh. Yeah, we've watched a few 30 for 30 documentaries together. I'm trying to think. Documentaries. I don't know that we've watched many together.
Okay.
I like true stories, maybe that have been fictionalized. You know, like we watched that movie Southpaw as a team. You know, some of the military movies. You know, what's the one? The Last Lone Survivor.
Yeah.
Yeah, that one. So, you know, I like a lot of those true stories that are kind of made for the big screen. I don't know that my guys could sit through many documentaries.
So what does your day look like? Like, what do you do first thing in the morning? What kind of breakfast do you eat? And, you know, just stuff.
Are we talking in season or out of season? My year is very dissected.
Okay.
You know, there's segmented times of my year.
Planned.
Yeah, where, hey, this is in season, so I do this every day. This is the spring, and spring practice is going on right now, so you do this every day. And, you know, recruiting in December and January, you do this every day. And so it's a bit segmented, so I don't want to bore you with everything. So, I mean, like, during the season, get up 5:30, 5:45, come in. Our running backs coach always has, it's the most beautiful thing. Every day, I think he must live in the office, I don't know, but every day he's got a tray full of summer sausage and Ritz crackers. And so basically that's what I eat for breakfast every day, and we're in about 6:30, 7 a.m. Every day, and then we watch film, get ready for practice. I try to work out at lunch. I do have the luxury of my office being one floor above a nice big giant weight room, which is cool. And then the afternoons are usually practice during the season, and then we'll come back in. We have dinner brought in for our coaches, and we'll watch the video from practice, make any kind of corrections to the game plan or adjustments that we need to be made, and usually roll out of there about 10:30, and get up 5:30 the next day and do it all over again from August 5th until December 31st, without one day off.
Nice. Wow.
Yeah, not one full whole day. Like Sundays, we
Yeah.
don't come in till like noon.
Questions from the audience?
Oh boy.
Yes. Is that?
No, I'm good. Yes. Hi.
My name's Dina, and I have a question. So earlier you mentioned you went through your core values: honesty, treating women with respect, no drugs or violence. So my question is, when did you establish these core values, and why these in particular?
Well, I kind of stole them from Coach Meyer, but they were also things that I believed in. I think that he put them very succinctly, so it was an easy carryover. You know, I think, like I said, honesty is, if there's one that's up, I mean, because you can't do any of those other things and still be honest. And we're very honest with our team, and I believe full 100 with every fiber of my body in public criticism and public praise. And by public, I mean within our family. So we run our team like a family, and if my daughter, I don't know how your families are, but if my daughter screws up, we're going to have a family meeting, and my son's going to know about it, my wife's going to know about it. We're not going to whisper behind anybody's back, and the same is true for our team family. If you test positive on a drug test, I'm going to tell the whole team, stay away from Johnny. He is a drug addict. He will, and you want that public criticism, where I don't think you get that enough in the real world. People are very thin-skinned And I think we've kind of raised a generation of thin-skinned people that don't like criticism. The root word of criticism, the last time I checked, is critique. And that is to give your opinion to improve something. And that's what we're doing. We're constantly criticizing each other, but for the betterment of ourselves and the group. And then, but at the same time, you have to publicly praise. If Johnny had a great game, Johnny, you had a great game. Or if Johnny got straight A's that semester, hey everybody, Johnny got straight A's this semester. You should all try to be like Johnny, because he's a really good student. So, but I think that has to happen in a public setting, that honesty, that directness, that I don't think, at least I hope in society we're not losing it too much, because the only way to get better is for people to critique you and criticize you. So I know I kind of deviated there, but that's how important honesty is to me. Yes, sir.
What's going on, Ross?
Hello, Ross.
Hey, Ross, I got a microphone for you.
We met earlier, Ross. Yes.
My question was, let's see, what advice would you give to somebody who's in a leadership position for the first time?
One, be yourself. I don't know if you guys could tell by now, I'm not Urban Meyer. I'm not David Bailiff. I'm not the guys that I've learned from over the years, but I've taken a lot of things from the great leaders that I've been around, and I've used them and incorporated them into my style and my personality. And then I think the one mistake, especially young leaders make, is they worry too much about what the other people think of them. You're not in it to make friends. You're not in it to please everybody. You're in it for whatever result you're trying to get. Somebody has put you in this position of leadership to achieve a result. And if you're directed to do it a certain way, or if the way that you're going to do it is your way, whatever the case may be, is those underneath you need to understand that, I tell people all the time, assistant coaches make suggestions, head coaches make decisions. And, at some point, and that's hard as a young person. I was a team captain, and I remember coaches talking to me all the time, Tom, you got to stop wanting to be liked so much, and you need to worry about being respected. And that one always kind of rang true to me as a young leader, was sometimes being liked isn't necessarily the best way to go about motivating your team. Who's the microphone giver? I'm not doing the picking. You want to do the picking?
Yeah. How about you? Oh. Which one? Yes. Oh, sorry. We'll come back to you.
See, that's why I don't want to do it, because then they get mad at me.
When you're recruiting, other than our winning record, what do you use to inspire them to come here? Is it the culture? How do you differentiate yourself for recruiting?
Well, one is the quality of education that they're going to get at the University of Houston, which I'm a little surprised. We signed a kid from Katy this year in Colin Wilder. His dad had lived in Katy his whole life, and we presented him all of this information about our academic prowess, and he had no idea. And I kind of got pissed or mad at our administration.
It's okay.
And I don't know who to get mad at, but I was mad that here's this man in Katy who, who fathered this really, really great kid who happens to be a really, really great student, who happens to be a really, really great football player. And he lives 22 miles from the campus of the University of Houston, and he had no idea the things that were going on. And so I think that needs to be addressed from a leadership standpoint in our university, that how great of an academic institution this is. And then I think you sell them the people. I tell them all the time, there's really two things. Once you get past the education and you're really talking about the team, one is winning, and you said besides winning, but I think winning is really important because football is really hard, and you want to be rewarded for your hard work. So that's important. And then the people, again, and we go back to how much we love our players, and we dive into them, and we, and the greatest recruiters we have for us are not our coaches or not me, they're our current players, because that's when the truth comes out. I tell kids all the time, don't trust me yet, right? As a recruiter, we're just starting this relationship. I'm trying to sell you something. Why the hell would you trust me yet? But go ask my players. Go ask the guy, because they'll tell you the truth. Go ask him in private what a practice is like, if Coach Herman really does love you, if he does really care about you as a person. And I think that's what really appeals to the young man is really kind of how we go about our business in terms of the way that we interact with our players and how much we love them.
Next question. Let's go there. Yes, there was a hand raised. Oh, yes, the one in black. Yes.
Hi, Coach. My name's Alon. Nice to meet you. So recently, I listened to that interview with John Lopez and Nick Wright, and I was wondering how happy you are now that he's not in Houston anymore.
I don't know who that is.
Oh, Nick. On Sports Radio 610.
What's that?
On Sports Radio 610. He interviewed you like a couple weeks ago.
I don't know who that is.
All right. Oh, okay. I get it. Okay. So second part of my question. So you recently said that the foundation of your team lies upon the offensive line and defensive line. So I noticed that one of your best hires in terms of value was Coach Werheim on the offensive line.
Yes. Thank you for noticing that.
Yeah, no problem. Was that who you focused on first in terms of position coaching when you were hiring your new staff?
It's a good question. No, but it was close. I think as a head football coach, when you go into hiring a staff, the first person that you need to hire has to be your strength coach, because your strength coach is around them probably 3 times as much as we're allowed to be around them as coaches, simply because of the NCAA rules. And so he has to be in perfect alignment with you and your culture, and he's got to be my voice when I'm, quite frankly, not allowed to talk to the team or really do much. And as Rashad up there knows, I just spotted Rashad, as he knows, my strength coach, I wouldn't have taken the job if Yancey McKnight wasn't going to come with me. That's how important he was to me and to what we're doing, because he's our culture coach. And then for me as an offensive guy, I wanted to hire a great defensive coordinator, a guy that I could really trust to run the defense while I was with the offense a lot, from an X's and O's standpoint, and taking up some of my time there. And then it was the offensive line coach, because I knew, never in this great game before, and certainly never, I would hope never happen in the future, has somebody stood on a victory stage and held a trophy and been asked, Coach, how did you win this game? How did you win this championship? Well, we out-finessed them. That has never once ever been uttered in the history of football, and never will. It's going to be we out-physicaled them, and we ran the football, we stopped the run, and our big guys won the game for us. And that's why offensive, defensive line, we kind of famously kicked the boosters out of first class, and our big fat guys sit up in first class, and as well they should. And little midgets like Rashad, they can go sit in the back of the plane with the boosters, and because those are the guys that do all the dirty work.
We have a question here, Dean Ramshawn.
Sorry.
Oh, hi.
Oh, we're way up there.
How are you? My question for you is, which is more important to you, making the University of Houston a nationally prominent program or leaving for a head coach position at an already established one?
What is more important, obviously the first one, is to turning the University of Houston into a nationally prominent program. And quite frankly, the last time I checked, we finished 8th in the country. I think we kind of now we've got to be able to sustain it. We've got to be able to sustain that kind of success. But heck yeah, that's important to me. Very important.
Okay, maybe 2 more questions.
Yeah, you're doing it, not me.
Yes. The lady in red. We like people in red. So.
So my first observation, I guess, is just a comment. I absolutely loved the Office Space video that you guys released on
That was
National
fun, huh?
Signing Day. It was fantastic.
What a
You have
great movie.
wonderful acting skills, in addition to coaching
So
skills.
you're an actor too?
No.
But my question actually is in part a plug for this weekend's red and white game for everybody to come out. I was just
2
curious.
p.m. on Saturday, TDECU Stadium.
Yeah, 2
No big
o'clock.
deal.
2 o'clock. Is there any difference in behavior of, the players and the coaches on a day like this Saturday where you have it open to the public versus, any other day?
Well, I hope we don't cuss as much, because there'll be families within earshot. No, I think the one thing, the format will be, I don't know if it's publicized, but we're down. We've had a few wide receivers miss a lot of time due to injury, and we were already kind of thin at that position to begin with. So we won't actually split the team up and like have a draft, because we wouldn't be able to function at that position especially. So the offense will be the red team, the defense will be the white team, and we'll have the first team offense go against the second team defense, and the second team offense go against the first team defense, and we'll have a little scoring system as to how we're going to see who won. Trust me, they're not going to walk out of there without knowing who was the winner and who was the loser, and doing gassers and all that. But no, I think we're not going to hide anything. We're not going to. I think that's kind of overblown. You're going to see our full complement of players and offense and defense.
One more in the middle, right there. Yes, yourself. Yes.
Hi, Coach Herman. I go to all your games. I'm a big fan. So we all know you as this fabulous coach, and we also know you're a husband and a father. Can you share a little bit about how you balance your family life and your work life?
Early, it was hard, to be honest with you. I think as with any profession, I think that you have to have a spouse that is committed to the same priorities that you're committed to, and if you don't, then at some point there's going to be a crossroads that you aren't prepared with. So myself and my wife had those conversations early in our relationship, and we knew where the priorities were going to be early, and that you needed to be mobile in this profession to kind of work your way up, and that I wasn't going to make a whole lot of money very early, the whole nine. And so I'm blessed to have, coaches' wives are saints to begin with, to be able to, they're single moms for half the year. They don't see us very often, and when we do, we're always talking about other people's kids too. So Michelle is an absolute saint. And so I wanted to make sure, finally, when I became the boss, that we kind of strategically worked our work schedule around being a husband and being a father. And so, like spring practice this year, other than the spring game, we did not practice on a single Saturday. And that's kind of unheard of in college football, because I wanted our guys to be able to go see their kids play baseball or go to dance recitals or what have you. We have family dinner night during the season every Sunday. Our wives and kids come and they eat dinner with the team after practice on Sunday nights, and I give our coaches Wednesday night after practice, it's go straight home, so they're home, hopefully by 7:30, 8 o'clock on a Wednesday, same on Thursday. We come in late Fridays at home games when we're not traveling, so that you can take your kids to school. And so the neat thing for my profession is it is very familial, and so to see a coach's kid running around the office, that's no big deal. You know, now other places maybe that is, I don't know, but that's the way I want our program run, because I know these wives and these kids don't get to see their husbands and fathers near enough, and so we want to bring them into the program as much as we can.
And that's a great way to end this conversation, don't you think? A shout out to his family and a recognition of what the family, the role that they play in this equation. So, Coach, we cannot thank you enough. You know, I read this quote about...
The beef jerky's enough.
Yes, no, the beef jerky, and we have something else here for you. It's a small token of our appreciation. We want you to open it and...
Okay.
Go ahead.
It's not
Go
gonna-
ahead. It's
I know you've got a great sense of humor, so
No,
I'm worried I'm going to get my
yeah.
hand snapped.
No. And we want you to use...
Hey, it's a
Yes.
lanyard.
Well, okay,
Oh.
good. So, you guessed right. And
Oh,
you can open that too.
Bauer. Oh, it's a wooden box.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We want you to use it so that,
A golden whistle.
yes, so that when you...
That is awesome.
When you win the next championship, you know, as you kiss the trophy, we want to see you blow this whistle. So,
I will definitely honor that. That's really cool. Thank you.
thank you so much for being here. Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, he's gone.